G'day, I thought we'd do a quick conversation about how I use various things around the patch. G'day folks, Andy here from McDowell Manor. These are cherry tomatoes. So they've been sitting on the kitchen bench, they're nice and ripe now. I do tend to take them a little early, and that's most because of fruit fly. So they'll go in this bag, which will return to the freezer. When I get enough, I make a big batch of tomato sauce, and I'll either can that, or usually I'll just water bath can it, and it goes in the fridge, and then it's used for a quick meal, pasta meal one night. Okay, the next one, that's an orange. That's one of the first oranges I've ever got off that little pipsqueak orange. There at the moment will be eaten just fresh. You can see I was worried about ants and aphids, so I pulled it off. It's actually starting to feel a bit softish, so it might be getting ready to eat. That'll be eaten fresh. Eventually what we do is we freeze them in, we juice them and freeze those as ice cubes, and they come in very handy. I've done that with mates, particularly Uncle Marky from Eaton's Hill. He had a lot of limes. I'm still using them. They're really good frozen that way and useful in Thai cooking. That's my pigeon peas. Remember, I pick them dry, so they're already dried. I leave them out for a couple of days in a plastic container. They'll get added to another container and just stored in the pantry. I use them instead of lentils, and I call them the lentil tree. Okay, passion fruit. What's happening there is Rosie gives some of these away because we do tend to have a fair few, so they go up to the daughter. The green ones, she's waiting to see if they ripen. That was green ones that are almost getting ripe, and that's ripe ones that she just eats fresh or gives them to her daughter. This is some leftover beans. You can see what I'm doing is just leaving them on the bench to dry. They're normal beans that you eat the pods as well. Just a green bean. We'll use those for seeds. Madagascar bean. I always do this the same way. I very rarely pick and eat off the vine. I always wait for the vine, for the pods to dry, take all the seeds, and I store them in with a whole lot of others in plastic containers in my pantry. And by goodness, I have an awful lot of those Madagascar beans. I use them in all sorts of bean dishes, American style baked beans, Mexican beans. I turn them into patties, meatless patties, and I also make falafels out of them. There's videos on a lot of this stuff you'll find on the channel. That's gooseberries. Rosie waits for them to get really ripened up because they are quite beautiful when they're really ripened. Otherwise, they're very tart. She just eats them fresh. My little granddaughter, she loves them. This one is, I just included this to remind myself to mention it. That's a whole lot of banana peels, not mine, shop bought ones, strawberry ends, apple peels, apple core. What's happening there? Most of it tends to just go straight into the compost. But what's happened here is I've made a slurry up that I'm going to feed the worms. Now, this is not one of my pumpkins. This is a mate. Thanks, Doug. It's a Seminole pumpkin, I believe. Now, what I'm going to do with him is I'll just keep him and use him like a normal pumpkin. So I eat a lot of veggies, either baked or steamed, so he'll probably be used that way. Of course, I could make pumpkin soup. It's not cold enough really for soup. Now, the other thing I'll be very keen to do is, in fact, get the seeds from that fella. He's actually quite large. He's much bigger than a butternut. I'll get the seeds from him, and he's a good one because Doug was telling me he has a high rate of pollination, self-pollination, so he doesn't have to go out and do it himself, which is a real winner in my books. So that'll be eaten, and the seeds will be used to plant some seedlings, probably in the not too distant future. So that's the current haul. without going to anything special. I've got cabbages and stuff that are nearing ready, but we'll just leave that. Now, any of the bigger tomatoes, the intention is they get kept on the bench, not put in the freezer, and we'll just use them like you'd use a normal tomato. It's just been winter and it's taken a while for the cherries to come in. They come in dribs and drabs for me. So I've been making sauce out of them. And here, friends, is why I don't leave tomatoes outside to ripen. That will be probably a possum. So I tend to take them a little bit earlier. I thought I should have got that one yesterday, and I was right. So sorry about the wind. It's really windy. I'm about to get up and pick one of those ripe papayas. You can see we get one about every second day at the moment. So Rosie eats them. That just sits on the kitchen bench. Rosie eats them with a bit of yogurt just chopped up. She loves them. The viewers also know that I do a lot of my own chili powder. Rosie tends to use the chilies fresh. So I do tend to leave a couple of red ones on the bushes. I dry them. Sometimes I'll sun dry these shelves in the dehydrator. Sometimes I'll do it electrically if I'm pushed for time. Shove them in a little $10 spice grinder. Bob's your uncle. And that is a lot of chili powder. And we're still producing. If you like this kind of self-sufficient living, feel free to subscribe. And I will turn this into a series about what I do with particular homemade goods, and where possible, if I've got a recipe up, like I think I've probably got a pumpkin soup recipe up, maybe, not sure. I definitely have some bean recipes up, so I'll put links to what recipes I know I've got down the bottom as well, so you can have a look at things you're interested in. But yeah, if you like this kind of stuff, feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you get notified when new stuff comes up, and look for a series which I'm yet to name, but it'll be something like uses for produce, homegrown produce. All right, folks, have a good one, eh? Hooroo!